Sunnivo Tech started with visionary people, not only me, of course, but with visionary people that understands the struggles that exists in Africa. Actually, the main reason that led us into Africa, where at this moment we have partnerships, we have local integrators, and we have presence in 19 plus countries, recently in Morocco.
Mm. I'm assuming that, of course, this would be a lot of a challenge in doing that. So when you first started off, what were some of the challenges that you encountered, so to speak?
Challenges, we can definitely make the difference. And the ambition, sometimes, and the biggest rewards, most of the
Mm-hmm.
times, are
Mm-hmm.
not only financial rewards, but actually bringing the difference. They
Yeah.
say we cannot change the world, but if everybody cleans up their yard, then the
Yeah.
neighborhood will be clean, right?
Right.
So we understand there are many challenges in Africa. We understand the real challenges when it's related to culture, when it's
Mm-hmm.
related to the currency, when it's related to the lack of know-how, when it's
Mm.
related to discrimination. So
Welcome to the UMG Podcast. I'm your host, Jerome Sheldon. As always, we have a beautiful show for you today. Now, if you're new to this channel, we ask you to please like and subscribe in the link below. So, without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the UMG Podcast. So, we have a very special guest with us here today, and I'm very excited too as well. Now, when I was talking about being a special guest, uh, it is because not only of her journey at this point in her career, but also because she's a special strategic partner with Umbrella Management Group as well. So it's nice to be able to have her on the show with us. And so she's also a cybersecurity evangelist and also a millennium ecopreneur. She's part of the few women that is now in the IT business, and she's a poverty alleviation and environmental activist. And of course, she's also a senator for Mozambique with the World Business Angel Investment Forum. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Magda Jamal. Okay, so my dad, before we get started here into the career part of things with you, we want to go back a little bit and just get a little bit more deeper about you as a person. So I'm going to try to take you a little bit backwards, and hopefully you can remember some few things growing up. So I'm going to start first with age 13. What was my dad doing at age 13? Where was she?
Very good morning, Jerome. Thank you first and foremost to be with you in this podcast. Thank you so much for having me uh, and the time and for this opportunity to share a little bit about ourselves and about myself as well. At the age of 13, I started to work because I turned myself orphan from my father. So it was a very important age in my life. So coincidentally, you start on the specific point.
Okay. Oh wow. All right. So now, would you did you have a very close was it a close knit family growing up? What's I mean, how many siblings did you have? Was it a lot of you guys or was just few?
Well, I was the oldest from two other young brothers.
Hmm.
So by the time that our father died, I had to take the lead of the family, let's say. My young
Hmm.
brother was, my middle brother was 11 years old,
Hmm.
um, turning in that year, 11 years old. And my youngest brother, he was only three.
Oh
So
wow.
they were tough times, but tough times creates tough people, right?
Right. And I can see a little bit of that in your personality as well too. With someone who it's like you have a game plan. You're trying to do something, and I can see because you've been put in that position at an early age to make things happen. You had
Yes,
siblings that were relying on you, and I ask some of these questions because our upbringing a lot of time is also characterize who we are you know, and it's
very
spilled
true.
into our. It could be marriage, it could be our family, or it could be even our career. We got little bits and pieces of those things. So, where were you actually born?
Well,
Which
I've
country?
born in Lisbon. I've born
Okay.
in Lisbon, beautiful Portugal, which has different landscapes for all sort of tastes. So if you like seaside, you have seaside. If you like mountains, or if you like farm side, you have countryside. You have beautiful places. By the
Hmm.
age of 24, I went to the Netherlands,
Hmm.
and since then, so for the last 16 years, I'm in the Netherlands, but I'm a citizen of the world, and
Oh,
my roots are all connected with Africa.
yes. And that brings me to my next question too, because now with actually, you know which coming right, because that with the World Business Angel Investment Forum. Now you are senator of Mozambique, and I kept thinking, where is the connection there? How is that connected?
Well, I think first of all, I think you had a very nice crystal ball, which I wish to have as well, because Mozambique is actually the land of my father, my grandfather, and my great grandfather.
Oh wow.
So these are parts of my roots where my great grandfather in 1940 was pioneering on the cotton and cashew industry.
Hmm.
So my deepest roots are coming from Mozambique, but not only because my mom was Egyptian. So all my roots are coming from Africa. There's African blood in this lady.
Absolutely. Okay. And I could see the passion too that you have for Africa because you have a lot of partnerships in Africa as well. Hopefully, one of these days we'll get to take you to Liberia so you can kind of see a little bit more of how things are.
Amen to that.
There you go. Okay. All right. So now I want to move a little bit now into your career side of things. Um, Now that we know a little bit about you, where you came from, kind of gave us an idea, perhaps the direction that you are heading to. Now, but before we get into the career part of things, I'm thinking, in terms of ambition, were you always someone who was ambitious when you were little growing up, or did that happen certain time in your life, maybe in college or something of that nature?
Well, college was only a passage, but I can tell you from early stage, I was always aiming to be the best from the class. So my ambitions were on that level since I was a little girl. Being the president of the class, being the best student of the class with the best scores was always the level where I wanted to be, and that I successfully achieved on my childhood, which makes me, of course, proud of it. Due to the personal and life circumstances, university was not fully accomplished. Maybe one day. uh, but these lead me to always a higher level of ambition on my professional career, and the passion in technology since the time I was in Vodafone Portugal, between my 21st and my 24th years old, also lead me to the expertise in the technology that we can share with our
Mhm.
partners.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So now we're going to move in a little bit now into Sunnyvale Holdings, which is, of course, you are CEO and founder of that. But we're going to focus a little more too on one of that branch of that, which is Sunrise Technology. So at this
Sure.
time, we're going to show a clip, a video clip here to kind of summarize a little bit about Sunrise Technology, and then we'll ask some questions after that. Okay. So that was a little bit glance of Sunrise Technology. So it's a lot of impact into that video. So we're going to try to kind of suffer a little bit and see what we can gain from it. But at first, I want to ask you, how did Sunrise Holding? I mean, how did that come about for you?
Well, uh, the video that you just presented is only a glimpse of the segments that we embrace in Sunrise, in Sunivotech. Sunivotech started with visionary people, not only me, of course, but with visionary people that understands the struggles that exists in Africa, and putting technology at the service of people. So more than 10 years ago, we envisioned a distribution level company where we could empower the business with our partners, and where we could bring the income locally in order to empower these communities, not only the partners, but the communities itself. As being said, my roots are 100% African in spite of being born in Lisbon, in beautiful Lisbon.
Mhm.
And the team, the core team that is side by side with me in the Netherlands, in Dubai, and in Lisbon, they are also with the same vision, with the same mission, with the same spirit of empowering the ones that are sometimes forgotten by big brands, by big organizations. And
Mhm.
this was especially the main reason that led us into Africa, where at this moment we have partnerships, we have local integrators, and we have presence in 19 plus countries, recently in Morocco.
Oh wow, absolutely, and that's commendable as well too. So with all of that, I'm assuming that of course this would be a lot of a challenge in doing that. So when you first started off, what were some of the challenges that you encountered, so to speak?
Well, we love challenges, right?
Yep.
If there are no challenges, who will be
Right.
creative enough to get the solutions on the plate, right?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So challenges are always welcome because in the
Mhm.
end of the day, by giving the real solutions to these challenges, we can definitely make the difference. And the ambition, sometimes, and the biggest rewards, most of the
Mhm.
times, are not
Mhm.
only financial rewards, but actually bringing the difference. They
Yes.
say we cannot change the world, but if everybody cleans up their yard, then the
Yeah.
neighborhood will be clean, right?
Right.
So we understand there are many challenges in Africa. We understand the real challenges when it's related to culture, when it's
Mhm.
related to the currency, when it's related to the lack of know-how, when it's
Mm.
related to discrimination. So sometimes it's important to have a disruptive way to bring these solutions. And this is the way that we also position ourselves. So we are active listeners. And by doing that, we understand what would be the local struggles with our partners. Sometimes the local struggles are related to technology itself. Some struggles are related to cultural wise topics. Some struggles are related to corruption that still exists in all over the world. So
Right.
it's not something that exists only in Africa. It's something
Mhm.
that exists overall, but some are more discreet than others.
Yes. Absolutely. And it's always a challenge, you know. Like for example, in my case, starting a business, you know, in Liberia, and of course, being away for some time, it was a lot of a challenge, you know, in doing that. Now, obviously, in your case, you said you love challenge. I'm the opposite of that. I'm the opposite of challenge. I love challenge, but then I'm so impatient. You know, I want to see a result real quick. Now, obviously, in your case, what is it that keep you going? What is it that fire up inside of you that you're saying the challenge is something that you love?
Well, I'll tell you why I love challenges.
Mhm.
First, because I'm a very resilient person.
Mhm.
I'm a very persistent on my dreams and on the dreams that should follow to others.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if you don't have challenges, how boring would be your life, right?
Mhm.
So I think when we have some obstacles and when we have some challenges ongoing, it gives you also some power to do things differently, as I said. I think,
Right.
and one of my mentors is definitely Steve Jobs. So
Okay.
when they are talking about thinking differently, I think
Mhm.
if you are thinking outside of the box and if you are thinking differently, you can bring changes. And as I said previously, it's a hard uh, thing to
Mm.
change the world. Even
Right.
God has his own challenges, right? But I think if we change some communities' life, even if the impact is a little, you
Hmm.
always bring impact. And being patient is something about Africa.
Mm.
As you
Mm.
know, as you know, as I
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
being in Africa, doing business in Africa, you have to have a very high level of patience, persistence, resilience, and will. And I
Yeah.
think the will of doing things differently, the will of contributing to give your footprint in
Yeah.
some way, somehow, is what will differentiate yourself and the company that you represent around the world.
Yes. Absolutely. And as you mentioned, patient. Um, like in my case, even though I grew up in Liberia, but most of my adult life was spent in the States. And so learning the culture here, that fast pace, got to go, got to keep moving. And so, when I went back and starting a business there, I had to work on that part of the patience. So that's something good for those who, trying to start a business in Africa. That is the reality. You just have to be patient. It's never going to go the way how you plan it to go. And of course, even those that are on the continent, they too, have to exercise patience as well too. So in your case, then with Sunnyville, let's talk a little bit about this partnership that I mentioned earlier that you have with Umbrella Management Group, and of course, that's a partnership that we cherish a whole lot as well too, because you bring a lot more to the platform. So with Sunnyville, first and foremost, what are some of the services that Sunny Tech, Sunnyville offers?
Well, just to close the patience topic,
Okay.
which
Okay.
I think is very nice to be closed.
Hmm.
Uh, there's a quote that I will mention that says, "When you plant a seed and that grows as a tree, never
Right.
forget that you will be sit under its shadow."
Hmm.
So it's important on a business level in Africa to understand that all seeds that are planted will bring the shadow or the fruits at some point. So this is one of the quotes that I like to mention a lot.
Oh
Another
wow.
quote that I just want to mention to close this topic is that
Hmm.
patience is the core ingredient of successful people. So
Yes.
I consider myself as a successful business person. And
Hmm.
if it was not the patience, I don't think that the complete menu would be there. You
Yes.
can have the whole technology expertise, you can have all the network available in your hands, but without this core ingredient, I
Yeah.
don't think it would be feasible.
Yes. Absolutely. Really appreciate that, and I love that quote as well too. Kind of like reminds me of the umbrella. That's
Here
where
you go.
UMG come under the umbrella, so to speak. Okay. So now talking about is partnership now that that UMG has with Sunnyville, which I think would really benefit Liberia. Can you share some little light on some of the benefits and the services that Sunnyville Tech offers?
Of course. So going back to our portfolio, we have 9 different segments on
Hmm.
our portfolio. So from products, services, and solutions. On the product level, we do have our own brand in fiber optics. We are manufacturers with industrial part in Amsterdam and in the United States. We do bring the network solutions and products from the A brands with the lowest price possible and the fastest shipping time as our distribution level is. And we bring innovative generation of PDAs that also empower the business when it's related to integration with barcode scanning and other sorts of softwares that are required for some companies involved in the market. Related to the service sides, we do provide IT training. So we do give Sanivo training in our portfolio. We bring hosting and data center solutions. So we support our partners regarding the build up of a data center ISP or having hosting solutions with the best practice of a data center. And as we know, there are few tier 4 data centers in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Last but not the least, cloud authentication services, which is also a system that provides a secure authentication when it's related to airports, when it's related to municipalities that are bringing Wi-Fi to the communities, when it's related to hotels and other different verticals that wants to ensure a secure captive portal to their Wi-Fi
Mm-hmm.
users.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them, they also are being used in transportation layers. um, on the solution side, the IoT, as you
Yeah.
mentioned in the video, IoT smart cities is one of our core solutions. We bring direct IoT sensors kits for agriculture, for water quality monitorization, for smart parking, among others. Smart cities is something that is very important for us because we care about the environment. Also
Mm-hmm.
brings the sustainability side and the transformation to the digital world. So bringing the digital transformation as well to Africa. Related to sustainability and side by side with IoT, we do have a solution on the solar energy side. This
Mm-hmm.
brings as well renewable energy to the communities, especially in the giant, beautiful Africa that
Mm-hmm.
does not have the complete grid in all points. So
Mm-hmm.
the system is a very easy system with a plug and play, offering 15 minutes of installation. We are talking about completely autonomous and independent solar poles, complete solar poles that comes for 10 hours of light with their batteries and bringing a warranty of 100,000 solar street lighting included. So
Mm-hmm.
this brings the sustainability on a very reliable way with anti-vandalism system. Lately, on our solutions portfolio, we also have cybersecurity. We do bring cybersecurity solutions not only for telecoms, not only for the banking verticals, but many more because as the time passes and as the digital transformation also applies for it, cybersecurity is something that is crucial on our daily lives, even on a laptop is something crucial. So when you have an enterprise, when you have a company with 20, 500, 1,000 workers, security is something very required, especially because it brings the sense to the employees about the vulnerabilities. And we are
Mm-hmm.
talking about simple things as phishing, as scamming that happens every day in our emails, not only in private emails, but also in the company's emails. And
Mm-hmm.
that can compromise the entire company, the entire institution. So I can give you a quick example from a hospital that one of the nurses, one of the ladies, just opened a phishing email and
Mm-hmm.
got a virus into the whole system of the hospital. The hospital was completely shut down.
Oh
So
wow.
this is just one example.
Wow.
And
Yes.
normally, who
Yeah.
hacks this type of institutions? They are willing to steal sensitive information. They are
Mm-hmm.
willing to steal patients' information, and then they will sell on the black market, of course, or alternatively, or both ways, they can also threat the institution to pay a large sum in order to get the system restored.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, this is some of the challenges that we
Yes.
overcome.
Right. Oh wow. That's a lot of challenges, especially when we're talking about the continent, of Africa. Now you have a lot of partners in Africa, and How has that been in working with the partners there? Has it been challenging for now? Of course, I know you love challenge, but in case like someone who is watching this, you know, what are some of the uh, what's some of the advice you can give to a person who maybe might be thinking about perhaps doing a business in Africa when it comes to cybersecurity, IoTs of that nature? Uh, what encouragement can you give them in dealing with the challenges? Because there are definitely challenges there as well.
Well, recently, Jerome, I have been on GTEx Africa, so it was
Mm-hmm.
an amazing experience. And I was attending to the Security Council stand, and one of the topics was actually the level of cybersecurity in Africa, and the AfriPol, which is
Mm-hmm.
the entity that supports the governments and the institutions in Africa that can be vulnerable or can be attacked. And this is a very huge topic for Africa when it's related to cybersecurity, because the lack of knowledge sometimes is the most challenging. So it's
Mm-hmm.
important to educate the partners in order to the partners to give this level of knowledge to make the bridge to the end user or to these institutions that can be vulnerable, that can lose a lot of their own um, money, their value, that
Right.
can lose information which are
Yeah.
sensitive. So I think as an incentive to people or companies that wants to work with Africa, the
Mm-hmm.
first point is to have a clear strategy on education, and to give us to have a strategy of training those partners with the best information possible, so they can be using that on their own benefits when they are doing the business locally. Because in the end of the day, our
Mm-hmm.
partners are our eyes and hands. So
Mm-hmm.
it's important to empower them not only with tools, but also with knowledge.
Yes, absolutely. And I can vouch for that too when it comes to Sunnyvale in that in that light as far as supporting the partners. Now, one of the things I appreciate too about Sunnyvale, Sunnyvale Holding, is also the fact too that you are also partnered with manufacturers for a lot of these components, especially when it comes to like the solar energy and things of that nature. How did that come about? Is that part of your strategy? Partnering
It's
with the
part
partners as well.
It's part of our strategy since day one to be the first class IT sustainable distributors. So it's since day one, we always wanted to bring the best of both worlds to Africa. And
Mhm.
you can only do that by uniting yourselves with the best.
Yes.
So the best manufacturers, A brand manufacturers, um, the ones that understands our vision are the ones that we rely on, and we
Hmm.
bring this knowledge, we bring this quality, and we bring the expertise together with these manufacturers to Africa.
Yes, absolutely. Because again, the challenge is always there when you have products that are on the continent that people would probably purchase, install, but then if they're having some issues, you know, it's just so hard to get hold of the manufacturers. I know that's a situation even that we have in Liberia, where when it comes to solar, there's a lot of other businesses on the ground that um, provide solar services, but people are more reluctant to go ahead and purchase those things, which is needed there because electricity is a huge problem. But yet, when something goes wrong with it, it's like, okay, what can we do? They can't get hold of the manufacturers and things like that, you know. So
I
it
think this
becomes
is the
complicated.
reason why I don't think it's complicated. I think things can be very easy and very simple when you are working with the right people. So, for our experience in Africa, as soon as we are talking of bringing 25 years warranty on solar poles, as soon as we are talking about providing the training and certifications locally, as
Mhm.
soon as we are talking about giving them the right tools for them to proceed with the
Mm-hmm.
business locally. I don't see it as something complicated. I see it that bureaucracies and
Mm-hmm.
paperwork may
Mm-hmm.
complicate things, may delay a lot of things and a
Absolutely.
lot of
Yep.
decisions.
Yep.
But I believe that where is a strong will, there is always ways of doing things on a smooth way. And the reason why we are first class IT sustainable distributors is
Mm-hmm.
especially because we want to bring this smoothness between the manufacturers and between the partners that we empower.
Absolutely. Yes. And you mentioned earlier too a little bit about Giltex. You said
Yeah,
that you
GTEx.
yeah, GTEX, right? Was it GTEC Africa? And that
It
was
was
the
the
very
first,
yeah,
yeah,
the very first summit that they had, and this was in Morocco. How I
indeed.
mean, how was that?
Well, I'm a sub-Saharan African person.
Uh-huh.
Nevertheless, since I have my mother Egyptian roots, apologize, roots, that was the
Mhm.
word. I can
Mhm.
tell you that in Marrakesh, I feel very Arabic, an African Arabic. So, by our experience in Dubai, where we
Mhm.
attend frequently the GTEX,
Mhm.
we heard last October that they would bring the first session of GTEC summit in Africa and in Marrakesh.
Mhm.
So it was very grateful experience for us because we not only get the right contacts once more, the right networking process, the right conferences that was
Mhm.
supposed to be listened, but we
Mhm.
also got an amazing integrator partner in Morocco, which was something brilliant for us as we
Mhm.
are just starting by end of July, beginning of August to explore the partnerships and to explore the possibilities of empowering as well the French speaking markets of Africa.
Yeah. Yeah. So for you personally, why is that so important? What is that important?
Well, it comes to the vision again, right?
Right.
So when we envision to touch base as many countries in Africa, when we do have a pan-African vision, when we do understand that there are no differences between the communities that really needs the empowerment, then I think it's going to be even another level to overcome,
Mhm.
another level to bring our expertise and our knowledge. So I see it as a very positive thing,
Mhm.
to have this new layer in our partners network that is
Mhm.
bringing the French Arabic speaking countries on board for
Yes.
end of this year, beginning of next year.
Yes. Yes. I really think the networking process is very huge, and of course, this is part of the reason too of starting with the podcast. Uh, even though I'm focused primarily on those in Liberia in terms of entrepreneur and CEO and inventors and things like that. Like you said, the know-how. They may not have the financial backing there, but if you know what to do, and if you hear from those who are navigating the stream, so to speak, you can kind of gain, something from there. So that's the purpose too of the podcast and that networking. So I'm a little jealous too that you went over to the Geek Tech, the very first one, of course, on the continent in Morocco. But what will be the next one? Now, is it a
Well,
yearly
the next
event?
one will be in South Africa.
Oh
There's is
wow.
also going to be an innovation summit, not powered by GTEx, but powered by a UK company, also very reliable, and it's going to bring together CTOs, CEOs from telecoms all over Africa. So that summit is going to be something powerful as well.
Yes. Okay. Now you're also a part of the World Business Angel Investment Forum as a senator there for Mozambique, and I got to say that you actually the one that recommended me uh, to be an international partner there for Liberia. Did you recall how that came about?
Of course. Well, back in the time, we are talking about 2020, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
I was invited by Bay Bars based
Mm-hmm.
on the work that has been doing in Africa
Mm-hmm.
to represent one country, and he came to me to represent the Netherlands. But since I explained that my roots
The roots.
were more related. Yes, my
Yes.
blood, African blood, spoke a little bit louder.
Yes.
And I told him, well, if I have to empower a country, if I
Mm-hmm.
have to uh, be responsible for governance, ethics, and business development, please allow me to represent the country where my father and my ancestors came from.
Yeah.
So this is a huge responsibility that I'm still proudly doing in Mozambique. And the aim would be to bring one of the offices of WBAF organization to Mozambique. We
Mm-hmm.
have always to be aware of the political situations in the countries in Africa. We always
Mm-hmm.
have to be aware about the right timing to do such a move. So
Right.
this is one of the missions that I also embrace in WBAF.
Yes. Yes. And I really appreciate being a part of that too. How has that maybe I want to say enhanced not just your knowledge, but your overview of your goals? How did that help you in achieving some of your goals, so to speak, by being a part of WBF?
It's always impactful when we are part of such a amazing organization, and of course, you feel flattered when you are invited to represent a country, when you are invited to bring this organization overseas.
Mm-hmm.
So the impact it has been amazing. The doors that it's being open by having this responsibility of bringing the business development, the governance, ethics into the country as being really rewarding. So I think when you assume this responsibility and when you bring the development to the countries that are needing the most or the ones that you have a sort of emotional relation with them as yourself in
Mm-hmm.
Liberia. I think
Right.
that is the most rewarding part.
Absolutely. Yes. And there's so much that can be done. I remember the
Oh,
last
there's a
time
lot to be do.
it's a lot. It's a
There's a
lot.
lot to do.
Yes. Yeah. And
So
it came.
let me let
Go
me
ahead.
just let me just add this, Jerome. Let me
Okay.
just
Yeah. Go
add
ahead.
this.
Go ahead.
When you are saying there's a lot to do, right? When we are
Right.
saying this,
Right.
Africa is for people who wants to do.
Yes.
Africa is for doers,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
So
Yes.
people that are on their seats really accommodated and companies that they don't want to take that effort, they don't go
Mm-hmm.
to Africa.
Yeah.
So when you are in those countries, when you are in that amazing continent, you know what has to be done, and you know how you can do and how you can raise the Africa we want.
Yes. Absolutely. That's true. And that's one of the things that actually, drives me to keep, trying to do business, especially in Liberia. Like I said, I remember the last time I was there and I had an interview, and one of the reporter, of course, they always try to tie things up to politics because they figure where you're coming in there, you're trying to do something with the politics. And I told myself, no, it's about getting up and looking in the mirror rather than looking over your shoulder to see who's going to do something. You look in the mirror, whoever you see, that's what it starts from. So a little bit of whatever you do, it's like I always say, it's like sewing a cloth, right? It's little threads that comes together that make the full garment that you look at. You say, "Oh, that's beautiful," So it's a little bit additional stuff to do. So now we've spoken a little bit on. I don't want to say challenge because you love challenge. We spoke a little bit. We spoke a little bit on strategy. Now let's
There
talk a
you
little bit
go.
about success. Thus far with you, what you feel has been one of your most success in terms of your company, the Sun Evo Holdings? What have been some of
I
your biggest
don't
achievement?
see I don't see success or a single
Okay.
achievement
Okay.
as a goal. As I
Okay.
said, I see success on the long term.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we are having presence in Africa for more than 1 decade, for me, that is a huge amount of success because it means that we are doing something out there.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we have our amazing network of partners in 19 plus countries, for me, that is also synonymous of
Yes.
success.
Mm-hmm.
The projects that we are having implementing in many segments of our portfolio, it's also a huge synonym of
Mm-hmm.
success.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's a limit for success. I think
Yeah.
you can always improve. There's always room for improvement, and you can
Right.
always improve the success in so many areas and bringing so much impact into the communities, either if it's by sustainability, either if it's by technology, either if it's by sharing knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see success as a bar to be
Right.
achieved, because you
Right.
always have ways of achieving success.
Yes. Absolutely. That is so true. So now I want to pivot a little bit onto the fact that, like you said, what you have done over the course of the year, it's a little by little, and you can see the improvement in what is it that you do. So the question that comes to mind when I'm thinking is that you talk a lot about IT. Where did that come from? I mean, because usually when we look at the IT word, it's not too many women in that forefront of it. But you have this passion, even when you're talking about it, I can tell. What did that start off from
Well, you
with
feel my
IT?
energy, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's say when I was a child, I was
Mhm.
always a little bit more boy than a girl, right? I like to play football. I like to run with my teammates. When I was a child, when I had two brothers, young brothers, so I was always a lot of kind of person that was more related to cars and motorbikes than
Okay.
Barbies. Still today, if I can go to a garage and stay around the car or around the motorbike, that is what fascinates me the most.
Wow.
But the passion really came on the early years that I was in Vodafone. We
Mm-hmm.
were pioneering the ADSL, well, 20 years ago. Whoa.
Wow.
We were pioneering the change of copper to fiber and the ADSL
Mm-hmm.
um, integration all over the country in Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that the telcos and the communication and the 2G, 3G, I remember to be pioneering on the text messages. So when we do had these big mobile phones that we were
Right.
carrying almost like a bag, suit bag, right?
Was that a
Suitcase.
Motorola?
Uh, it was. It was,
Yeah.
my dear. So when I first tried to make a text message, And
Mhm.
on my landline number, the person called me and asked me, "How the hell did you did that?" you know, you just sent me a text message.
Right.
So about 25 years old, that was something. 25, maybe 30 years old, it was something. So I believe that the passion started on the telecommunication level, on the
Mhm.
models of the mobile phones like BlackBerry we were having like 20 years ago, right? The
Right.
HTC, and the pioneering of ADSL was such an amazing experience because so many companies were struggling
Mhm.
with the landline numbers from the only telecom that exists back in the time. So they were having the monopoly of it.
Right.
And from that moment, and going to the Netherlands and starting with the network core
Mhm.
business that is still related to telecoms, is still related to data centers. And when you start from RJ45 cable
Mhm.
without knowing anything about IT world, right? And you start to have a CCNA from Cisco, and then moving forward and then moving one step more
Right.
on the technology. And when you do it with passion, you don't work, right?
Yes.
It's just joy that you have.
Right.
So the passion and the IT starts on that level. The
Yes.
second level is when you are again being differentiated. So, as you
Mm.
said, still today, there are few women on the
Mm.
technology world.
Mm.
And when you met some of them, as I did had the honor and the pleasure of meeting
Mhm.
some of these few women
Mhm.
that are maybe 10, 15 years older than I am,
Mm. Mhm.
and you get inspired by them. You really see them as, okay, if they can do it, I can do it as well. So
Yes.
you get some very very empowering inspirations with these
Mhm.
tech women, and you pursue your passion easily. So
Right.
in the end of the day, the core ingredients could be patience, passion, and knowledge. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's kind of sums it up to play. Because that means you're having fun. And what is it that you're
There
doing?
you go.
And it takes away the work part of it, you know. And that's why I mean with you it's always work, work, work. I can tell.
Which is a pleasure. Which is a pleasure, because when you do what you love, when you
Yeah.
do what you love, and quoting Confucius, when
Right.
you do what you love, you don't work a single day in your life. So you wake up doing
Hmm.
what you love, and you go to sleep with a clear feeling that you did
Yeah.
your very best in what you love.
Exactly. Absolutely. Okay. Well, we have a part of this show, as we mentioned earlier to you, what we call the 5 for 5. And so basically, it is asking you 5 nice questions and to kind of get your rapid response, you know, on those questions. So we don't have a drum roll here, but we're going to go ahead and start that, and then we can get right into the question. So let me see what my producer going to do.
Shoot.
Okay, so there we go. The 5 for 5. So your very first question: coffee or tea?
Water? No, I try to drink tea because I drink little water. So
But
three
see,
of them work perfectly.
you know, that's what I always tell my wife. I said, "Well, it's water in it. You know, water is in the coffee and water's in the tea." So she said, "Drink a
Here
lot of
you go.
water." Okay, all right. So the next question is: day or night?
Both.
Both. Now, why you say
Yes,
both?
because I'm daughter of the sun,
Okay.
because I born in August, so I'm a Leo.
Mm,
So without sun, I can't live, and it's really something very important in my life, and it was a very very huge challenge when I
mhm,
came to the Netherlands. And night, because you have that moment of peace and silence where you
mm,
can do your meditation. And I'm the 5 a.m. club. So night is always important for that. And it's always important to have your family, your friends stick around with you and having good moments. I think night
yes.
would be for that.
Okay. Absolutely. Okay. So, question number three: your favorite childhood memory. What would that be?
My favorite childhood memory, playing with my father.
Mm,
My father was such a great teacher. I'm so blessed by having him for 13 years of my life.
mm,
And he was wise, he was joyful, he was my hero. He was a great person. So, um, if I can bring you all my memories of my childhood with my father, that would be the ones that I would place on the table.
yes. Absolutely. Okay. Appreciate that. Now, you did have a couple of quotes and stuff while we're having a discussion. What would be your favorite? I don't know if I need to ask that, but what would be your favorite quote?
That's a tough question.
Why is it tough? You gave me that
It
about
is.
three
I
to
have so
four.
many. I have so many more. I'm a quote person. No, I have so many more. But I believe, do what you love, and life will bring you all the rewards. I think is my best quote.
Oh, okay.
Just do what you love. That's it. Simple.
Yes. Okay. And I'm going to share mine too, if you don't. My favorite quote, because I tell my wife, I said, I'm
Please
going to
do.
share mine. Now, my favorite one is there is no act in the face to tell the mind construction.
Here you
In
go.
other words, you cannot look at a person and just judge them for who they are. You have to get to know that
Don't
person
judge the book. Don't judge the
by the,
book by the cover, right?
by the cover. Yeah. Yeah. That's one of my favorite lines right there. You cannot tell from a person's face what's in their mind.
Or
Okay.
what is in
Now,
their heart and
or
soul.
what's in their heart? Exactly. Yes, ma'am. Now, the last question. Do you have any last thoughts for our audience?
Keep empowering Africa. We want to build the Africa we want, and that brings awareness to all of us, to all of them. So, either if you are in Liberia, either if you are in Senegal, either if you are in Mauritius, in Madagascar, Ethiopia, doesn't matter. I think we are all one, and we should see Africa as a nation, as the future, as the birth of every humankind. And from that point, I want to ensure that who is listening my message can understand that it is possible.
Yes, absolutely. Well, my dad, thank you so much for being a part of the. As you can tell from the applause from the crowd we have here in the studio. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for taking the time out to share your journey with us. It was very insightful, and I hope that those that are listening, our audience, can be able to take a little bit piece of that and see if they can add on to their journey as well too. So again, thank you so much for being a part of the
Thank you.
UMG podcast.
Anytime was a huge pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. So for our listeners out there, thank you for joining us this time around. We look forward to seeing you again on another podcast. And as always, Jump, but don't jump too high because you have class. See you at the next episode.